So guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. So guys, Caleb Plant. Eddie Hearn said that it's getting closer for Plant and Canelo fight is getting closer. Now, Caleb Plant has made some comments saying that he believes he's better than Billy Joe. He's faster, he's stronger, he's got a better defense, he's got more power. He believes he's a better fighter. What's my take of it? Now, I do think Caleb Plant is a natural 168 pounder. I do think Caleb Plant is somebody that is a massive, not massive, but he's a big 160. I think a massive 168 pounder would be someone like David Benavidez, who a lot of people think is a problem for Canelo, who a lot of people think could beat Canelo. Not many people think the same way about Plant. I do agree with Caleb Plant about Billy Joe though. I'm not saying that Caleb Plant's a better fighter than Billy Joe, but I do think he's bigger. And he's got a lot of the attributes that Billy Joe's got, but I think he's a bigger 168 pounder. I actually think he is very fast. I actually think he's got faster feet. I'm not sure if he's got more power than Billy Joe. I do think he's bigger. I think he's very fast. I think he's got very fast feet. And I do think he has the style to cause Canelo issues. And I do think he's a better 168 pounder than Billy Joe. I know Eddie Hearn said that Billy Joe's his toughest fight, Billy Joe's Canelo's toughest fight, and Billy Joe's not a 168 pounder. He's not. You know, he's a small 168 pounder. He's really a middleweight. Caleb Plant's not a middleweight. He's a natural 168 guy. So Canelo Alvarez would be fighting somebody that's a natural 168 pounder, which he hasn't, apart from Callum Smith, who he obviously dealt with. And listen, for me, he's fought the biggest 168 pounder. So you can't even say Canelo's been picking on smaller guys. No, because he beat Callum Smith, who was a massive 168 pounder, and he handled him with ease. And Callum Smith is a lot bigger than Caleb Plant. I definitely think that someone like Benavidez is probably the biggest 168 pounder. But again, David Benavidez is unproven. Callum Smith had a really good win against George Groves, which is better than anything that Benavidez has done. So I do think Plant has got attributes to give Canelo a lot of trouble, and I do think he's a better 168 pounder than Billy Joe. I do think the fight with Caleb Plant's a lot tougher than the Billy Joe fight. That's just my personal opinion. I think Caleb Plant's, for me, very fast feet, and I saw him. And now, having said that, that has been done against less competition. Even though I didn't really rate Billy Joe's competition resume, I don't think he's got a great resume. I still think he's fought better fighters than Caleb Plant. Billy Joe's been in there with Lemieux, Dandy Lee, Eubank, Ryder. He's fought better names. He's fought better fighters than a Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant's got Katsi, who's a good win at 168. Actually, when we look at Billy Joe's wins at 168, Billy Joe's got better wins at lower weight classes, but he hasn't got a better win at 168. I think the Katsi win was a solid win for Caleb Plant. It was a solid win. So I don't really think Billy Joe did anything at 168, really. When you look at it, he beat Shifat Asufi, who was really, shouldn't have been a world title fight. And then he fought, who did he fight? Martin Murray, who was basically, he's a middleweight, really. He's a blown up middleweight, and he was past his best. Martin Murray, by the way, a quality fighter, a very good fighter, but he was way past his best when he fought Billy Joe. So really, when you think about it, and then he fought on the YouTuber undercard, I forgot the guy's name, that he fought Corias or whatever, I think, and he looked terrible in that fight as well. Billy Joe was losing that fight up until he, knocked him out. So really, at 168, Billy Joe hasn't done a lot, and he hasn't looked too good at 168. Let's be honest, his performances have been lackluster. You'd actually say the best performance that he had was the loss against Canelo. He actually looked decent, but I don't feel like Canelo got out of second gear. And Billy Joe really is not a 168. He's not a 168 fighter. He should be fighting at middleweight, really. And I think that showed in that fight. I think he was out. I think Billy Joe was. I think Canelo was just too strong. Billy Joe just had no punching power to keep Canelo off. Canelo just kept walking forward, and really eventually landed that big blow that really finished the fight, really. In terms of Caleb Plant, I think Caleb Plant, although Caleb Plant might be able to absorb more punishment because he's a bigger man, even though Billy Joe was quite durable, I feel that Caleb Plant's going to have the same issue as Billy Joe. He doesn't have the power to keep Canelo off. Canelo's too strong. He's very educated. He's got very good feet. I just think he's gonna knock Caleb Plant out, or he's gonna stop him. I just don't think Caleb Plant has anything to keep Canelo off. If Caleb Plant had power behind those punches, I would say, you know, he's got a chance. But Caleb Plant doesn't have power. And Canelo's boxing IQ now is through the roof. He's so educated. He's so good. He's fast as well. He's not a natural 168, so he's very fast. He's a lot faster than some of these guys. Even though Caleb Plant's a fast guy, but Canelo's a smaller guy moving up. He's very fast himself, very fast of hands. Yeah, this is a tough fight for Caleb Plant. And I like Caleb Plant. I've been one guy that a lot of people saying giving Caleb Plant no chance. I'm giving him a chance, but it's a very small one. Not because Caleb Plant's excellent. It's just how good Canelo is. Canelo's just too good right now. He's too good. And this is no knock on Caleb Plant, because I rate Caleb Plant very highly. I just don't think he has any firepower to keep Canelo off. That's the big problem. It's not the fact that Caleb Plant's not good. Caleb Plant's excellent. Caleb Plant's a brilliant fighter. I just don't think he has what it takes to beat Canelo, because like I said, he doesn't have the punching power. Canelo's too strong. He's too strong, and I don't think Caleb Plant's going to be able to keep Canelo off. And I just think Canelo's going to keep marching forward and eventually grind him down and wear him out. I think there's a big problem when you're facing Canelo. Like I said, I think the only guys that are going to beat him, that can put him under pressure, that can make him work for 3 minutes of the round, and I don't think Caleb Plant can. I think Caleb Plant has the ability to cause him issues, win rounds, but eventually Canelo's going to catch up to him. And when he does catch up to him, I think you've got a big, big problem, because like I said, he's not just a... I've said this before, that Canelo's not just a... You know, you get bulls that just walk at you and just so strong. This is a very intelligent bull that just walks forward, but very intelligent. I just don't think you can avoid him for 12 rounds, and I think he'll wear you down. Body shots are... Like, you could hear those punches when they were landing on Billy Joe's body. Like, they were hurtful punches. They're the type of punches that are wearing you out. They're wearing you down. They're hurting you. You know, and then he hits you with big shots to the head as well. The uppercuts that he hit Billy Joe with, you know, the right hand. Like, he's got serious arsenal, Canelo. He hits you very, very hard. Very, very hard. He can knock you out. Even these guys at 168, he's hurting these guys. He hurt Callum Smith. He basically bruised Callum Smith's arm. Look at the state of Callum Smith's arm. Look at the state of Billy Joe's face. He broke his orbital bone. He literally destroyed Callum Smith's arm. You know, and Callum Smith, didn't you see the state of Callum Smith's arm at the end of the fight? This is what Canelo's doing to these guys, and these guys are 168 pounders. You know, he's just too strong. He's too strong with very good boxing IQ. I just don't see anyone beating him. I'm just being perfectly honest. And like I said, I think he can beat everyone from 160 to 175. That's how good he is. And that's incredible to say about a fighter, that you think he can, from 160 to 175, that's a 15-pound, weight jump. And I think he can beat everybody at 160 to 175. That shows how good Canelo is. Shows how great Canelo is. But, I do think Caleb Plant's a good fight. I do think it's a tough fight. I do think it's not an easy fight. I think Caleb Plant has what it takes to cause Canelo issues. I just don't think he's strong enough. I don't think he has enough power to really keep Canelo off. I think Canelo's just going to walk him down. I think, as we saw, Billy Joe hit Canelo with a kitchen sink. He hit him with a beautiful left right on the chin. It didn't affect Canelo. And I don't think Caleb Plant's got power to really hurt Canelo. We saw Caleb Truax, who fought Caleb Plant, said the guy's got no power. So if Caleb Truax is saying that, then, I'm pretty sure Canelo's not going to have no problem walking through that. We already know Canelo's got one of the best chins in boxing. This guy doesn't even get wobbled, or not even really seen him wobbled, apart from Miguel Cotto's brother early on in his career when he was, 19? Apart from that, I've never seen Canelo hurt in a fight. Where his legs buckle, like, that was when he was 19. Apart from that, I've never really even seen him hurt. So yeah, to move on to the second part of this video, I wanted to talk about Keith Thurman and Errol Spence. A lot of people are accusing Errol Spence of ducking Keith Thurman now. Keith Thurman gave a very good interview where Keith Thurman actually talked about where people think that he was ducking Errol Spence and talking about the fact that he was never ducking Errol Spence. He was just waiting for the right time. And the fact that, Mayweather didn't fight Keith Thurman, and when Errol Spence started calling Keith Thurman out, he was 16-0, and he felt disrespectful. Just felt like Mayweather felt it was disrespectful. Keith calling him out, he felt it was disrespectful for a 16-0 guy calling out him. I actually think Keith Thurman didn't want to fight Errol Spence when he was on top. I think he looked at Errol Spence as a very dangerous fight. I'm not saying Keith Thurman's scared, because I don't believe fighters are scared. I believe Keith Thurman would fight Errol Spence. I just think at the time he thought Errol Spence is hard work and a dangerous fight, and he thought that fight can wait. And I think Errol Spence really wanted that fight. Now, Keith Thurman also mentioned a few things. He said that I never ever got a phone call for Errol Spence, probably because you didn't entertain the fight and you squashed, whenever he was asked about it, he kind of squashed it, that we'll have it down the road. He said, I never got a phone call for Adrian Broner. He goes, I never got a phone call for Amir Khan. And he goes, I never got a phone call for Errol Spence. But the fact of the matter is that the way you used to squash those fights, when you want to see Keith Thurman, look at the way he was acting when he was chasing Amir Khan. Floyd Mayweather, Amir Khan, he was chasing those fights. And he was calling those guys out. You clearly see he wanted to fight them. He wanted that fight right away. Right? But with Errol Spence, you could clearly see that Keith Thurman at that point didn't really want that fight. You could clearly see that he was saying, oh, wait another, I'll have that fight. Let me have 1 or 2 fights. And after the packet, he even said, I'm not ready for a Spence fight. So Keith Thurman, for me, I don't think he wanted to fight Errol Spence. Even when Errol Spence beat Kell Brook, I don't think Keith Thurman really wanted to fight him. And I think Keith Thurman's now in a position where he needs Errol Spence, because Errol Spence is the king. And now Errol Spence is turning around and saying, well, when you were champion, right, and I was chasing you, you didn't want to fight me, but now that I'm king and you're chasing me, I don't want to fight you either. So Errol Spence is basically doing exactly the same thing that Keith Thurman was doing. In my opinion, that's the way I see it. I think Errol Spence is basically teaching Keith Thurman a lesson that I'm king now. I don't want to fight him. Why? He didn't want to fight when out. And to be honest, he's got a point. When Errol Spence was champion, Keith Thurman didn't really show any interest. Even when, even before the Pacquiao, Keith Thurman was still a champion when he fought Lopez. That fight between him and Thurman could have been made, Spence and Thurman. But he wanted to go down the Pacquiao route. Yet Pacquiao never held any belts. Yet if he had fought Errol Spence, he would have fought Errol, that would have been a unification fight. So a lot of people are accusing Errol Spence of ducking Keith Thurman now, but he's not ducking. Errol Spence is now fighting Manny Pacquiao for a unification fight in a unification. The reason why Errol Spence was chasing Keith Thurman because he had the belt. But what does Keith Thurman get? I mean, what does Errol Spence get fighting Keith Thurman now? Nothing. It's not a big fight anymore. So he doesn't really... It is a big fight. It's still a big fight, and it's still a good fight. A fight that we would like to see. But when you think about it, Errol Spence don't gain anything from that fight anymore. Keith Thurman is not rated that highly anymore. People think he's washed up. He's not a world title. He doesn't hold a world title. So what does Errol Spence gain? Nothing. And also, he wants to get some revenge because when Keith Thurman was champion, he didn't give Errol Spence that opportunity. So Errol Spence is kind of upset about that. I hope it does happen though. As a fan, I think it's a great fight. I'm not sure it's that great a fight anymore. What it was a couple of years ago. But I still think it's a decent fight. But let's see. Now, they are talking about Keith Thurman fighting Sean Porter. And if Keith Thurman loses that fight to Sean Porter, which is a very strong possibility, then Keith Thurman's fight with Spence is never going to happen. Because Keith Thurman at that point would become a gatekeeper, really. Whoever loses that fight between Thurman and Porter becomes a gatekeeper. But that's just my take. Leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I'll try to get back to all you. Make sure you smash that like button, and I'll see you all. Oh yeah, follow all my social media, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.